First of importance, what precisely was the purchase of Louisiana? For $15 million, the United States bought almost 828,000 square kilometers of territory from France in 1803. That comes to 4 cents per acre. This vast area covered the Gulf of Mexico to the Canadian border and the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains. But why would France sell such a large area? Napoleon Bonaparte was in charge at the time, and France was enmeshed in expensive conflicts around Europe. Desperate for money and helpless of defending the area, Napoleon chose to sell it to the United States. Though the Constitution did not specifically give him the authority to make such a purchase, President Thomas Jefferson grabbed the chance. This treaty paved the foundation for westward migration and increased the size of the United States overnight. Was it as simple as it sounds, though? Allow us to probe more closely. Negotiations. A diplomatic masterstroke, the Louisiana Purchase was a sophisticated diplomatic move rather than a straightforward deal. To handle the purchase of New Orleans and West Florida, President Jefferson dispatched James Monroe and Robert Livingston to France. But Napoleon presented them the whole Louisiana territory when they got there. The discussions were tight. France first wanted 22 million, but the American diplomats controlled the budget to reach 15 million. That comes to about $340 million today. For reference, the federal budget for the United States in 1803 was somewhat modest, 340 million today's money. For background, the federal budget for the United States in 1803 was really meager, about 10 million. This agreement begged questions even if it was a diplomatic win. Was American purchase of this territory justified by rights? And for the current residents, what about them? Let us investigate those problems. The effects on Native Americans. Native Americans are among the most underappreciated features of the Louisiana Purchase. The ground was not vacant. It was home to several indigenous groups including the Comanche, Osage, and Sioux. The U administration claimed the territory, but they neglected to consult the native tribes who had spent decades there. These tribes were displaced, driven onto reserves, or killed by disease and war throughout the next century. Native American history entered a sinister chapter with the Louisiana Purchase. Remember that the Louisiana Purchase marked a turning point for the people who called this land home, not only a real estate deal. Lewis and Clark expedition, the U, had to investigate and survey this great new territory. Now let me introduce Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, who oversaw the renowned Corps of Discovery expedition between 1804 and 1806. The path Lewis and Clark traveled was no easy one. Over 8,000 kilometers were covered under difficult conditions, hostile terrain, and hazardous animals. They built contacts with Native American tribes and recorded hundreds of plant and animal species along the route. Their expedition highlighted the difficulties of settling this new land even as it opened the path for westward migration. Political and economical effects. There were broad political and financial ramifications from the Louisiana Purchase. Crucially for trade, it gave the United States control of the Mississippi River and the port of New Orleans. As newly acquired territory sought Union admittance, it also spurred discussions on slavery and state rights. Economically, the buy was a deal. The rich ground supported farming, and later resource discovery including gold drove economic expansion. Politically, it reinforced the federal authority and established a standard for next territory acquisitions. But not everyone found pleasure. Critics complained about the cost and contended that the purchase was unlawful. Was it then well worth it? Allow us to deconstruct it. Was this the best real estate deal? The great question now is whether the Louisiana Purchase was indeed the best real estate bargain ever made. Let's balance the advantages and disadvantages. On the plus side, the U acquired a lot of territory for a very nominal cost. Growing products including wheat, corn, and cotton, this area became into the national breadbasket. It also cleared the path for the idea of manifest destiny, which holds that the United States was meant to grow all across the continent. On the downside, the purchase caused Native Americans to be displaced and heightened slavery-related strife. It also begged issues about the boundaries of presidential authority. Thus, was the best offer? From simply an economic perspective, sure. But when one considers the human cost, the narrative gets more complex. A turning point in American history, the Louisiana Purchase defines the country. It changed the country and prepared ground for development, discovery, and strife. Though it's sometimes praised as a great real estate bargain, it's crucial to keep in mind the complications and repercussions involved. I appreciate you traveling with me over history. Should you find great enjoyment in this video, please sure to like, comment on, and subscribe for further historical explorations. Keep exploring. Until next time.